Hello and welcome to the Gifts of Wisdom Summit. I'm Sarah Jane and my co-host for this interview is Laina Orlando. Thank you for joining us. The summit, our featured conversation today is with the authors of the newly published book, Gifts of Wisdom, Practices for Healing and Empowerment by David D. McLeod, released last month. Be sure to grab your copy on Amazon. See the link below in this video. This incredible collection showcases 22 authors who each share their inspiring stories and powerful practices to empower and uplift. The topic of this particular conversation is Beyond the Physical, How Medical Intuition Can Transform Your Health, with Virginia Rounds Griffiths. Today, medical intuition is increasingly recognized as a complementary approach to traditional medicine, with practitioners using their intuitive abilities to provide holistic insights into a person's health, often working alongside conventional healthcare providers. Listeners will gain a deeper understanding of how intuition can serve as a powerful tool for uncovering hidden health issues. You'll learn the fundamental principles of medical intuition, including how intuitives perceive energy patterns, chakras, and auras to provide insight into physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. We'll explore the history and evolution of this practice, highlighting its role alongside conventional medicine. Ethical considerations will be addressed, emphasizing the importance of responsible and transparent use of intuitive insights. Through real-life case studies, you'll discover how medical intuition has successfully complemented traditional healthcare, offering a holistic approach to healing. By the end, you'll leave with a clearer understanding of how medical intuition can empower you to take a proactive role in your health journey. Your mic's off.
Thank you. As Sara said, I am Laina Orlando, and I have the pleasure of introducing our author, and it's Virginia Rounds Griffith, and she wrote chapter 18 in our wonderful book, Gifts of Wisdom. And the title of her chapter is Master Your Energy Matrix, a Guide to Personal and Spiritual Fulfillment. So Virginia Rounds Griffiths is a multi-dimensional light activator, an energy alchemist, a medical intuitive, and a spiritual teacher dedicated to guiding humanity toward the divine heart centers. Her mission is to help individuals connect with their inner God, goddess, enabling them to experience clarity, purpose, joy, and harmony. Working within the 0-point field, a space of infinite possibilities, she transmutes negative energies into positive ones, creating balance in personal energy fields, physical bodies, and environments. Many people are unaware of how energy shapes their lives, either leading to a harmonious flow or causing obstructions and disharmony. Inspired by Einstein's belief that everything is energy, she aligns with the frequencies of desired realities to bring them into being. Her passion lies in serving not just humanity, but also the animal, plant, mineral, and elemental kingdoms. Together, we can restore balance and harmony to our beloved Mother Earth.
Virginia, I watched you as that was being read by Laina, and you and I know each other well enough that I think before we start with the questions, you had that little yes. Would you like to explain what that's all about so that people understand?
Yeah, certainly, especially when they're watching and they're thinking that I'm got Tourette's or something, which sometimes it doesn't look as it should. So basically what that is I'm getting downloads from spirit, downloads from source. And a lot of times it's it's a confirmation of what is being said, whether it be by you or by me. There's confirmation, and that's where my body just go, it'll do that. And another part of you may experience is my voice will change. When I come into negative energies, my voice changes, and it takes on a whole different sound. So yeah, just in case my voice changes while we're doing this.
Thank you. And you described it when we did it before, that somebody who could actually watched and seen it, said it was like a lightning bolt that was hitting, coming down
through my crown.
Yeah. So it is for real. And I've known Virginia long enough. So what was the greatest gift or surprise during the gift of wisdom process for you?
As I was speaking about earlier, the greatest surprise for me was the fact that I even put pen to paper and actually contributed a chapter. Because my base thing is I don't write. It's not my forte. I can talk, I can do, but I can't write. That's me. But the opportunity came, and everything just flowed from the time that I interviewed with David until the time this all came to fruition. Everything just flowed, and I thought, wow, this was meant to be. But that was my biggest take, and my biggest surprise is the fact that, and the other thing that was exciting too, was the fact that once I started to write, it just all came tumbling out so easily. And I actually got excited about it. This is me, was it? I don't write. No, that's not my thing. No. But there it was. Yeah. So that was my great excitement, my great takeaway. And which was why I asked earlier about, okay, so when's the next book?
Well, Virginia, I'm enjoying that you are sharing how excited you were to write this chapter, but what are you excited to share with our audience now?
Well, as the title for today is about medical intuitive, and that is what I do. It's one of the many things I do, apart from being an energy alchemist. And as a practitioner because a lot of people don't, I think more and more it's coming to the fore that people do understand what medical intuition is, especially from America and the North American country. But basically in this country, I think, Sarah Jane, not very many people know what a medical intuitive is, and also in other countries too. So I think you have to belong to a group of sort of like-minded people who understand what it is. And it's basically the ability to assess someone's physical, emotional, and spiritual health. And as we do so, from my perspective, we all work different ways. But from my perspective, I scan a body, and then I can pick up the blockages in that body. And then I can clear those blockages as well. At the same time, if I think that they should, and take into consideration, I can't diagnose, because that's not what I'm supposed to do. And I'm very, very careful about that. So basically, yeah, so we go to the root causes, we can clear the root causes, which, a lot of medical practitioners went from the known medical association. They don't go to the cause, they fix the symptom. And so therefore, this can resurrect time and time again. What I do complements medical diagnosis as well. And I love it when people have gone and got a diagnosis and they can come to me and say, this is what I, then we can just go straight in and clear whatever is needed to be cleared. And we also provide a lot of holistic insights as well. So as we view the body, the mind, and the spirit, this is all connected into the whole person rather than just the physical, which is really important, I think, from my perspective anyway. I hope that answers your question, Lena.
So what is the history of the evolution of medical intuition?
Really, really important, because it goes back in time. It goes back eons of time. What did the indigenous people do? They used herbs, they used hands-on, didn't they? They never thought about, they never had the medication that we have these days. So it was very, very holistic. It was very much about taking nature into consideration. Again, the wholeness of the person was taken into perspective rather than just the physical ailment that was being experienced. So yeah, ancient healing practices, shamans, that's what they did, didn't they? The shamanics, witches did that. Well, women that were witchery has a bad connotation, but in actual fact, those women did so much good for their communities because they used the herbs, they used what they knew, their knowledge that they knew, and they helped so many. But of course, they were ostracized for that. And yeah, so that's coming from way back. Now, then you come to Ayurvedic, the Indian process of healing, and not to mention the Chinese medicine. They use the energy healing in the acupuncture system. So acupuncture, they go into the energy, which is all the meridians in our bodies, and they unblock the blockages there, which then frees up the body to get on and be more open to healing. So that's what that's all about. And then, of course, we come into this time, and we're looking at people like Edgar Cayce. And if anybody knows about Edgar Cayce and the amazing work that he did, I mean, he was just a phenomenon. And then we have people like Louise Hay, who wrote about all of this healing in the energetic field. And then, of course, Carolyn Myss, is that how you say her name? Myss? I don't know it, but she was an amazing, she still is, an incredible medical intuitive and very, very well known. And since the time, of course, there's a lot of people like me that have come on board because we found that that's our gifts that we can access. And a lot of people come to us because we were able to help them in that form. So that's the history, basically, in a very, very concentrated part of the history of medical intuition. So it's been around since forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm familiar with Carolyn Myss, and also I've studied a lot of Edgar Cayce's work, and it's just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So, Virginia, what are some of the ethical considerations that need to be considered as a medical intuitive, especially as you were saying that it is not a well-known field? It's becoming more known in the US now. Most of my friends know a medical intuitive, and I've got friends that are medical intuitive, so that's better known. But what are some of the ethical considerations that you have to keep in mind?
Well, for the very first one, of course, is diagnosing. We can't, and I can never say, I always say, I'm not a medical doctor. I can't give you a diagnosis. And the beautiful part about it is that people understand that. They know. But it's really quite interesting how people that come and seek our abilities, they actually haven't been to doctor for years because they don't believe in the system, which is quite sad, because I always like to think that science can be married with what we do as well. Even though we work in the energy field, but science can be very, very much part of it. So yeah, diagnosis is absolutely out of the question. We also have to have clear communication so that the client knows what we're talking about, and we have to be very careful about how we coach the terms of what we're speaking, because, say for instance, someone's had trauma, and if you say, and they're usually very hyper alert, and like anxiety is very strong in their field. So what I usually say is, look, when I tell you what I'm telling you, it's because I'm like an MRI machine. And all I'm doing is going through your body and telling you where the blockages are. But if I can tell you what I'm finding, what I'm picking up, we can also clear it. So you've got to allay their fears, because a lot of people go into fear. And especially if they've been traumatized, if they had trauma or something. And confidentiality is huge. You've got to be so careful about being confidential and not to talk about your clients, which I'm sure others do the same thing, no matter what modality they're using, Reiki or anything else. But that's one of the things that we have to be so very careful about. And avoiding false hope and fear. Fear is huge, as we know. And so we have to say, well, this is how I see it. I'm going to explain to you what I'm picking up. But, it's so beautiful because people are just, they're just, yes, okay, just do it. So, yeah, it's really, really brilliant. We also have to watch our biases, like with a client, as a person presents. Sometimes our bias can come into play here. So we've got to be very careful and stay away from any of that. Legal considerations as well, licensing and regulations, and of course liability and insurance, all of those things come into play as well. Yeah, it's quite a lot to take into consideration.
Yes, definitely. It is quite a bit. But let me do a little follow-up question to that. You mentioned Carolyn Mays, and she worked with Dr. Bernie Siegel. So they teamed up in a lot of things that they did. Do you team up with any doctors?
No, I'd love to. Because I can see the benefit of that. But these doctors have to be open-minded enough to allow you into their sphere. And you also take into consideration, literally, I'm Jenny come lately. They've been doing their study for years, right? And they've been taught one way. And that's the way they know. So when somebody comes in that's bringing them a different perspective, it's a very difficult, unless they're open-minded, it's a very difficult thing for them to take that on board.
It's becoming more acceptable here in the U.S. because a lot of hospitals have opened themselves up to allowing people who do hands-on healing, which is a training in the energy field. So there's a marrying that is happening definitely here in the U.S. because I've got quite a few friends that are energy healers, and they got the hands-on healing certification so they could work in hospitals alongside some of their doctors that they have created really good relationships with, because their clients will ask.
Yeah, because I think here as well, Sarah Jane, a lot of people are doing Reiki in the hospitals, aren't they? It's become more open to be used. But what I do is a different story because, it's not just, I don't put hands on. I work remotely. Always work remotely. So
I think things like reflexology are very acceptable. And again, people who work with reflexology have got to be really careful that they don't actually try and diagnose, because they can pick up so much from feet. So, yeah, what I was going to say was you talked about root cause. And I think this is the really important thing, isn't it? Things like homeopathy, they aim for the root cause. So you're picking up the energies of the root cause of it. Where does it start rather than the actual symptoms? And we've talked about in the introduction about the fact that there could possibly be a sort of real life story, an incident, sort of a medical intuition. Now, I know you can't give names, but is there anything that you could sort of share with us that sort of give people some sort of real sense of what happens?
Sure. So I got an SOS from a person who had a stroke. And before she had the stroke, she was staggering and favoring one side, like staggering against the wall. She said she kept going against the wall. So by the time I came in, fortunately, she had a mild stroke. But by the time I came in, I went into the brain because I can do that, which is what we do. And I could see that there was part of the brain, the small brain at the back of the brain, which is called the cerebellum. And it had, there's a vermis, what's called the vermis. So, and also not only that, but also the cerebellum itself, there's a couple of lobes in there. But when they are out of balance, people actually can stagger. And if it's really severe, people think that they're drunk. So all of this is coming from the brain, which is, and then of course I went in. She had had the stroke in her brainstem, so we cleared that out, and the difference is amazing. You know, she was able to walk well. Initially, she had some nerve issues, like through the legs, because you know what happens up here goes down into the legs, right, and the arms. That's just the way of it because of the nerves system in the body. And so we cleared all that, and she had a burning sensation down on the left hand side, and her foot wasn't working very well. But after we must have done about 3 sessions, and she was back to normal. The stroke is almost like it never happened. You know, so it's amazing the things that we can do. Yeah.
What's fascinating about what you're talking about is you're doing this remotely, so clearly you're working energetically. So can you speak to the role of the chakras when you're working with somebody, doing the medical intuitive work, and of course doing the actual healing session? Share more about that, please.
Certainly. So not everything is around about the chakras, all right? Although we know that chakras are very strategically placed, and they're also strategically connected to the organs in the body, yes, the different parts of the body. But apart from that, if you have a look at the role of the energy itself, so the root chakra is all about your physicality, and it's all around the keeping you safe and the process of the physical, the legs, the base, all of that, you know, keeping you safe is basically what the root chakra is about. And then, of course, if you have a look at the heart, that's about love and compassion. And a lot of people whose hearts are closed off, they have issues with their hearts. Mm-hmm. Heart issues, vascular issues, because that's all connected in cardiovascular. And if they have heart walls, so and the other thing is grief and sadness. Grief, it's huge. So many people carry grief and sadness. Grief in the lungs, sadness in the heart. And of course, the lungs and the heart work together. Grief and sadness works together. So as soon as I go in and I ask, and I can see, I go straight to the heart and the lungs and clear that out. And it's really interesting because almost inevitably, when I go back in, the lungs will be cleared, and so will the heart. And all I've done is clear out the grief and sadness. It's fascinating. It's like the kidneys. The kidneys hold fear, right? And a lot of people who've had trauma, those kidneys are affected almost inevitably. And then we're talking about the adrenals, which sit on top of the kidneys, and there's an osmotic thing that goes on between them. So the adrenals are connected to anxiety, emotions, right? Fear. And so everything is connected. And this is why there's a lot of issues with people that have kidney problems and also the bladder. Yeah. Sorry, did I say that? Did I answer your question properly, Laina?
Absolutely.
Oh, Virginia, this has been fascinating, and I obviously sort of want to thank the audience for attending, and I hope that you've enjoyed this. Now, I know in the book that you've offered an amazing gift for people to be able to do to help themselves. I didn't know whether there was another little gift that you were offering or something you were offering for the program.
I did. I have. Sorry, I beg your pardon. And it's about grounding. Now, one of the most important things for your physicality and your spiritual life, and everything, mind, body, spirit, is to ground. Too many times we're not in our bodies because it means we're not grounded. And the anxiety that is experienced by some means that they're either halfway out of the bodies or fully out of the bodies. As a consequence, they're taking on all the energies from the collective consciousness, which we know is filled at the moment with a lot of negativity. So grounding is one of the most important things that we can do. So the gift that I've given is about grounding and the importance of grounding, because we need, our bodies are, this is our protection, being in the body. And if we're not in the body, then we can't manifest. That's one of the many things. We can't sleep properly. So many different issues, and I've detailed that in the MP3, in the gift that I've given. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Virginia, you've shared so much wisdom. You've given us so much wonderful information that if somebody didn't already know about this type of work that is available, you gave them enough information to make them curious. But I'm going to ask you, can you give us one more little gift, one little bit of wisdom that we can have as a parting gift from you to allow people to have a better understanding of what the medical intuitive field is all about?
Sure. Thinking about there are so many aspects to what we do. And if you, the other thing is, Laina, anyone can do this work. I'm not unique, all right? It's just that I had given it my focus, and therefore I'm able to do this. So as a medical intuitive, I love the fact that I get so many different versions of people. Does that make sense? Each person is so unique in themselves, and never be afraid of this kind of work, because this works hand in hand with the medical association. And all I'm going to say is that one of the most important things too, by the way, is making sure that you asked me about the chakras before, that all the chakras are clear. Because remember we spoke about the chakras being connected to all the organs in the body. So if you're having issues with, doesn't matter whether it's the heart, whether it's the throat, a lot of people have issues with throat, thyroids, because they don't speak their truth, because they're afraid of some reason or other not being able to speak what they need to speak, because they were shut down. And I don't know whether you remember when in the old days they used to say you can be seen but not heard. That was to be the favorite thing for the old people used to say, you can be seen but not heard. So it didn't matter how. And so many young ones, they want to express themselves and they want to be part of the conversation, part of the family dynamics. But when we were told you can be seen but not heard. So that, and of course, and a lot of families too, and I'm looking at women now in this particular aspect. In a lot of families, the male was given the credence. He was given this is, it's a male thing, and you don't get to say anything about this, or you don't get your chance to say what you need to say. And then, of course, in marriages, the same kind of thing can happen as well. So some women go from a very young age to their middle 60s, 50s, 70s even, not being able to express their truth. And, the throat is such an important aspect of our physicality. You think about it, and we're nurtured from the throat. We take our water, we take our food, right? We are able to speak what we need to speak. And this is also a conduit to our skull, to the brain. So being shut off here is very, very sad for a lot of people, and especially women. Always. I notice another thing too, a lot of women have a lot of problems with their throat. They have issues with the throat all the time. I used to, until such time as I just learned how to speak up. So yeah, that's why I know. But never be afraid of looking outside of the box. Always know that there are amazing gifts in taking on something new, something different, and something that's not going to hurt you either, because medical intuitive can't hurt you because it's all in the energy. And the other thing that I love about this is that I pick up stuff that's already starting to manifest in the energy field, but people don't even know about it. So the beauty of this is if you can clear it before it gets into the physical body, that's so much better.
Well, again, you've left us with so much wisdom, so many wonderful nuggets. And of course, the audience is going to want to get a hold of your grounding gift. And to be able to find that, you can just look in the show notes as well as in this video. We have placed the link there for you. So thank you, Virginia.
Oh, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure for me being here. Thank you.